Hello, this is Nate. This is the台本なし英会話 lesson podcast, and this will be an English-only episode. So if you want to improve your English listening, this is perfect. You can listen to me on this podcast, on this episode, while you're staying at home, while you're jogging. Maybe you want to get some nice exercise. Maybe you're going to work. Maybe you're at work. I don't know if you should listen to the podcast when you're at work. But anyways, if you want to improve your English listening, this is the perfect place. So I'm glad you are here. As usual, I have an announcements. So number one is I did a video again with Sota. It's an all English YouTube video. And we talk about, the new game called Animal Crossing. In Japanese, 動物の森. And it is a weird game. Sorry if you love it and I said it's weird, I'm sorry. Anyways, me and Sota had a fun time talking about it. So if you didn't watch that video yet, you can click on the link in the description of this episode or just go to Eigo no Sota on YouTube and check that out. It's all English, so it should be perfect for you guys who like listening to all English things. Also, just follow us on social media. That's Instagram, Twitter. The Facebook is for the Daihon Nashi Eikaiwa lesson. And, of course, YouTube. Sota is doing a lot of YouTube recently. Okay, guys, let's get started with this episode. All right, so what is the topic for today? Well, I decided let's talk about video chatting. And maybe I'll teach you some words or phrases that you use when you talk about communicating or video chatting, especially with family or friends. It's not going to be like a business situation. It will just be me talking about my experience recently video chatting because of, what's going on in the world right now, which is the coronavirus, outbreak and pandemic that's happening. So many people are video chatting now. So basically, I'll just tell you about my experience video chatting and what's happening now. And so you can listen to me talk about the topic of video chatting, and maybe, now or in the future, you will, maybe schedule a video chat in English, or you will have some friend invite you to do the video chat. And it's a recent topic now because people, they can't meet. So also I'll just discuss this new thing, which is people have to, communicate through video chat, and also whatever. It could be calling on the phone, email, or, the messenger apps and stuff like that. So not just video chat, but it could just be instant messaging as well. I'll tell you about my experience, and hopefully you can learn some new words or phrases with my speaking. Okay, so as you know, many people are, relying on the internet to communicate, or their cell phone, like using some messenger app or something. But recently, I've started to use video chatting a lot with my family back home, and it started really quick. Like, I would Skype with my family sometimes, I don't know, with my mom maybe once every 2 weeks, or sometimes it would be once a month almost, not often enough, I say. Because like one of us would try to schedule a meeting, to video chat, and then the other person would reply and be like, I'm a little busy. So the first topic I want to talk about is, seeing if someone is free, or deciding, when to talk, right? Scheduling, right? So that's probably one of the hardest things to do, actually. Once you get on the video chat, once you're chatting, there's no that's not the problem. The problem is figuring out schedules and deciding if someone is free. So one phrase you can use is to see if someone is free or to see if someone is available, right? So sometimes I'll just email my mom and I want to know if she is free or when she is free, right? So I'll ask her, I'll say, I want to see, I wanted to see when you were free to video chat, right? I could just say, when are you free, right? But when I talk about it, I can say to see. To see means to check, right? So I wanted to check if or when she was free. So, you can use the word check, to see, to figure out, to ask when someone can have a chat. Those verbs are all okay. I usually just ask my mom, like, are you free? Or when are you free? Or I'd like to see when you are free to video chat. A phrase like that. And isn't that the hardest part? This idea of scheduling. So to make a schedule, right? Basically, you can say schedule as a verb. A verb means like the action word, like go, eat, run, swim. That's an action word called a verb. So schedule can actually be a verb. So you don't need to say make a schedule. You can just say schedule. So for example, let's say I email my mom. I say, hey, let's video chat sometime. I'd like to see, if you're free sometime next week. And my mom replies like, sure, yeah, let's do it at 5 p.m. my time, 9 a.m. your time. And basically, if that's good, I'll say, sure, let's schedule it for then, right? Let's schedule it for then. So schedule can be a verb. It doesn't have to say, let's make a schedule for then. Don't need. Just say, let's schedule it. Let's schedule the meeting. Let's schedule the chat for that time, right? So that's a useful word you can use to schedule a meeting. It's a little bit more professional. You can use that in a business situation. And actually going back to see if someone's free is a nice, polite phrase. You can say, I'd like to see if you are free, right? I'd like to see if you're free next week. What do you think, right? So that's a nice, polite phrase you can use not only for a close family person or friend, but in a business situation. So for my mom, yeah, the scheduling can be sometimes easy, sometimes difficult. And even with other people, not with my mom, it's more difficult because we don't talk as much on video chat. So we don't know how to decide when to do it. The reason is the time difference, right? So that's one of my kind of problems when I schedule these video chats with my family is like dealing with the time difference, right? So to deal with means to handle or manage some kind of problem or issue. So dealing with the time difference, it means like it's kind of tough to decide about like what is the time difference. I always forget, like I know in America it's evening and in Japan it's the morning. And so I just think that simple way, but sometimes I get the exact times wrong. Like I know it's about like 5 p.m. in America and like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. in Japan. It's like the next day. It's confusing. So if it's 5 p.m., let's say on Saturday in America, I think that would mean it's around 9 or 10 a.m. The next day. So that's Sunday in Japan. Oh, it's confusing. So when I'm figuring out when to chat with someone, that's the hardest part because, either one of us has to be at night, one of us has to be in the morning. So it's kind of hard to decide who should be morning, who should be night. And so basically I just decided I should be the morning usually. So I just request, I ask my mom or my family to video chat where it's the evening for them and it's the morning for me. But that's pretty much because my mom is, she's not retired yet, but she took 1 year, a kind of, it's called a sabbatical. It's, she's a university professor and she took 1 year to do like writing and research. So she didn't have like a 9 to 5 type of job. So, for me, I was teaching during the daytime and a little bit in the evening. And so it's so much easier just for me to, chat with me in the morning time. So anyways, yeah. So recently I've been chatting with, some family members. I talk about my mom, but the cool thing I've been doing recently is like for example, last week I scheduled the video chat with my dad, I think it was, and then he invited my sister, and then with my sister I got to see my nephew and of course my brother-in-law. So 3 screens were chatting at the same time, which is really cool. So one screen was me and Jasmine, of course. I'm holding Jasmine while I'm video chatting. And then the other screen was my sister and my nephew, Eddie, and her husband, so my brother-in-law, Peter. And, Eddie is jumping around and playing games and stuff. And so that's one other screen. And the final one was my dad and his girlfriend. And so all 3 of us were, talking at the same time. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And that was kind of because of this situation going on with the coronavirus, because in America, they're on a lockdown. So I'm not sure if it's a legal lockdown or it's a recommended lockdown, but basically they have to stay home. And businesses that are not essential is ESSENTIAL. Businesses that are not essential, or jobs that are not essential, it means you need to do it. It's needed for society, like food, like maybe medicine, especially, of course, hospitals, transportation, things like that. Those are essential. So if it's not essential, then you have to stay home. So that's the lockdown situation in America. So my sister and her husband, they don't have, at least we think, my brother-in-law maybe has a essential job. They're not deciding yet. It's related to construction. But my sister doesn't have the essential job where she has to go to the office. So she works from home. And so, she's always home and she can video chat, almost anytime. And my dad, he's retired, so he can chat anytime. So that's another thing is, because of this situation, we have such more free of schedules. So we can do these video chats almost any time. Well, not me yet, because in Japan there's no lockdown yet. But if there is, I'll be video chatting a lot more, of course. Okay. What's one thing? Oh, one more thing is when you're actually on the video chat. I noticed one thing is when the connection is slow or the connection's bad, it's always kind of awkward, or there's this kind of silence or some confusion about what's happening. So one example, one thing is when the screen freezes, or when someone's screen freezes. So freeze is Freeze. Freeze, it means, when something's really cold, you put it in not in the refrigerator, but the freezer, right? So it has ice on it. So when the screen freezes, that means it doesn't move. So when your computer screen freezes, it becomes frozen. So you can say, hey, so let's say I'm talking to my sister on the video chat, and her screen stops moving. So her face is not moving, right? It's like just trapped in that one moment. And I would say, hey, Jess, my sister's name is Jess, your screen is frozen. What's going on? And sometimes the voice keeps going, but the screen is frozen. But sometimes also the voice would stop as well. So that would be, another problem. But one problem is when the screen is frozen. And what do you do in that case when the screen is frozen? Well, it depends on, I guess, which app or which program you're using, but I would refresh it. So refresh is refresh, refresh. It means to make the screen fresh again. So I don't know how to do it exactly on the app, but maybe you can click some button like the refresh button, or it could be clicking the camera off and on. That's what I do when I use Skype. So that's one annoying thing, is when the screen is frozen. Another annoying thing is when the voice doesn't come through. So that's a phrase you can say. The voice isn't coming through. So come through, you imagine there's like this telephone line, and the voice is going through the line. So, or you could think about it going through the kind of computer system or through the internet. So if your voice isn't coming through, that means maybe there's some delay, right? A delay is another thing that can happen. Or it could be because the internet connection isn't good. So in that case, I would be, if my sister's voice, kind of stopped coming through, I would say, hey, Jess, your voice isn't coming through. Or I could just say, oh, maybe there's a bad connection. Maybe there's a bad connection. Your voice isn't coming through, or your voice stopped, right? Or it could just be a delay, which is, like a few seconds late. So you could say, oh, there's a bad delay, or there's a delay on your voice. There's a delay on your voice. What's going on? Maybe there's a bad connection, right? So there is a bad connection, or there's a delay, or your voice isn't going through. And for me, I don't like those kind of silent, in a conversation, if there's some silent times, I feel awkward. So I think we've used the word awkward before on the podcast. It's AWKWARD. It's this feeling like kind of strange, like, it's not right. Like an awkward silence is when, let's say you're having a conversation with 3 people and you don't know what to say. And so everyone is thinking, oh, what should I say? But it's kind of, I don't know what the right question, or, it's this feeling of like, it's not, it's kind of weird. The atmosphere is not right because of this silence. So yeah, I'm kind of like sensitive to that type of thing for video chat, or I was, not now anymore, because I got used to it, because I have to do a lot of video chatting, especially for teaching my English lessons online. I've learned to manage those, for example, bad connections or delayed voice or things like that. Yeah, my online students know it happens a lot. So you have to get used to it, and you have to learn how to deal with those, problems with bad connections. So yeah, another thing that kind of comes up is, I was wondering, I want to ask you guys this, is when you're video chatting with a friend or family, how long do you do it for? Because, for me, I love, video chatting with I love video chatting with my family, but I'm wondering, is it better to keep like some kind of time limit? Like if you're having like a business meeting, it's like 1 hour or 30 minutes, there's like a limit, right? Because it's for business. But when I video chat with my family, we never say, okay, let's chat for like 20 minutes or let's chat for 30 minutes or whatever. It's always just, we do whatever we do. We don't decide that. So I'm wondering, sometimes, of course, I love, chatting with my family, but it's difficult to decide when to, say goodbye or when to stop, when to, stop the chat. And yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm chatting for such a long time because I don't know when to stop, basically. And so it feels a little bit weird when you have to say like, oh, I gotta go, or, we should stop chatting or whatever. So yeah, in that case, what kind of phrases can you say? Well, the easiest one I just said is, I've gotta go, right? I've gotta go. I've got to go. It just means I have to go. I've gotta go, right? So if you have to go to work, you have to do something in your house, you can say, I've gotta go. And go means to leave the chat. Doesn't mean to go somewhere, outside of your house. You could say, oh, sorry, I've got to go. In my case, maybe Jasmine is crying or something. I've got to go. Jasmine is kind of fussy. She hasn't stopped crying. So I gotta go. Recently, that's been my reason to stop chatting because I want to maybe give Jasmine some milk, or she starts, kind of moving around too much or something. So I say, oh, sorry, I've got to go. But if I don't have that excuse or the reason to finish the chat, then sometimes, especially if there's like 3 people, so if it's like me and my sister and my dad, I don't know how we should end it. Should it just be natural? Like, okay, everyone's kind of, getting tired of chatting, so we can naturally finish it? Or should we kind of decide a time limit on it? I think it's too difficult to make a time limit. So it's better to have maybe a personal kind of time limit, and then when you reach that limit, you can have the reason to stop, like, oh, okay, I have to start making dinner, or I have to, take care of something with Jasmine or whatever. So I guess I'm not sure if this is the same as a Japanese culture, but in American culture, we would have the reason or excuse to stop chatting. For example, oh, I have to do something. I've got to go, right? There would be a kind of excuse to stop chatting. So yeah, I'm not sure if you have the same thing in Japan, but for me, it's always, oh, I've got to, Jasmine's starting to cry, I've got to go. And then we finish it there. But sometimes my mom will say, okay, I've got to get ready for bed or something, because maybe she'll be chatting at night, and for me, it's the morning. So they're starting to get ready to go to sleep. So that could be, another reason to stop the chat. Okay, so yeah, this topic of video chatting is, I think, just going to become more and more popular as this coronavirus pandemic continues. In America, we have this app called Zoom, Z-O-O-M. Z-O-O-M, yeah, that's right. And of course, we used Skype or Zoom or maybe some other app. But recently, I've been just using Skype or Zoom, and they're pretty much the similar video chat programs on the computer. You can use Skype on your iPhone as well. And besides that, I think just with my mom, with my grandma. Oh, yeah. So I video chat with my grandma a week ago as well, which was really, really interesting because we did it on our iPhones or at least my iPhone, and I think my grandma must have an iPhone too, because we did, it's called FaceTime. Did I say that? Yeah, FaceTime. So you can call a phone number. I don't know, is it only people who have iPhones? I'm not sure. But yeah, it's called FaceTime, and it's just like a simple chat on your phone, I think. I don't know if it has the computer program, but I know my grandma has a cell phone. I don't know if she uses a computer, so maybe that's why we did FaceTime, because she doesn't use a program on her computer like Zoom or Skype. But that was pretty cool too. So yeah, American people, I think, are using a FaceTime a lot as well. And it's to call from a phone number. But it's free, I think, with the internet connection. Yeah, I'm not sure. Do Japanese people use FaceTime? Probably, right? I'm not sure. I haven't used it with anyone except my dad a little bit, but with my grandma as well. And yeah, man, my grandma was so happy to, video chat with me, but also with her other grandchildren. She has a lot of children and a lot of grandchildren because my grandma is on lockdown in California, and she is a people person. So she always meets her children and her grandchildren and her great grandchildren. And she has to stay home now, which is very tough for her because, as I said, she loves talking with people, meeting people. And so even for older people like my grandma, they can use these, video chatting apps to connect with their, children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. So yeah, that was something cool as well. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you use any video chatting apps? And do you chat with your family, your friends, or are you just using them for business? If so, let me know which ones you use, and do you have any problems, any opinions about the video chatting? Is it good to video chat with your family during this coronavirus situation? Do you have any complaints, anything that annoys you? Any good, bad points? Let me know on, Twitter or on the social media posts. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope I could help you improve your English listening through this episode. I hope, in the future, if you are video chatting, you know how to talk about video chatting, and you know about some American culture related to video chatting, and also some phrases you can use for scheduling or when you lose a connection or to finish the chat. So thank you guys so much for listening. Remember to check out Sota's YouTube video with me, the All English YouTube video. So go check that out. And yeah, I'll see you guys next episode. It'll be a bilingual episode. And yeah, have a good week and stay safe. Alrighty, bye-bye.